Hi everyone, welcome to Next Generation, and today's episode is going to be about redefining chastity, and we'll also dive a little bit into what does it mean to love as well. So let's get into it. First of all, we'll start by looking at the definition of what chastity is. So chastity is the virtue that frees us from the selfish attitude of using another person and thus makes us capable of real love. If we look a little bit deeper into what that quote means, because it's a little bit like, whoa, a bit too much. If we start with, what does virtue mean? Virtue is the firm habit of doing what is good. If we look at what does it mean to free us from the selfish attitude of using another person, we understand that chastity isn't about use and it's not about being selfish. So chastity is all about being selfless, not selfish, and it's all about loving another person. I'm sure at some point in our lives we've been used before. I know I certainly have, or maybe you've even been the one using another person, and you know that both of those don't feel good, and they might be good in the moment, but we know that that's not truly fulfilling. So chastity frees us from that selfish attitude of using another person, and thus makes us capable of real love. If we look at the third aspect of that definition, it says that it makes us capable of real love. If we look at what love is, I'm going to use the definition of St. Thomas Aquinas to define that. He says that real love wills the good of the other person. And what does that mean? Willing is an active decision, so literally doing something. And good, when we look at what goodness is, we can look to the source of love, to the source of all goodness, and that is God himself. So if we truly want to will the good of another person, we need to help them go closer to God. So that's kind of what this definition is all about. What love really is about going out of ourselves. So it's not selfish. It frees us from that selfish attitude and helps us bring another person closer to God. And there always has to be another person. And when we look at what love is, we can also look to God, who is love himself. And here's a beautiful quote here that talks a little bit about how God himself is love. When you look at the Father and the Son, and you see that the Holy Spirit is actually the fire of love between them, which is quite beautiful when you think about it. And it almost reveals to us the secret of our purpose, which is to love and to be loved. So God created us for love. So that is why love is such an important thing. Chastity is kind of like the active way of living that real love. And chastity can also be seen as a way that orders our sexual desires according to our dignity and the dignity of the other person. So when we're talking about the other person, it doesn't necessarily have to be the person that you're dating, but it can also be, people on screens, or, that Instagram model, or it can be your friends. It can be someone you see on the street. It can be your family. When we think about what chastity is, it's about ordering those sexual desires according to our dignity and the dignity of whoever that other person is. Because no matter your vocation, we are all called to live chastity. So whether it's religious life, whether you're a single person, whether you're dating, or even if you're married, chastity is for all of those. Another common idea that comes up when I talk about chastity, particularly with students, is that they believe that chastity is just abstinence. And this is in fact a false idea, although abstinence is sure part of it. As you can see, I said that it is for marriage too. So therefore it can't make sense that chastity is simply about abstinence. Basically what chastity is, you could say, is kind of like the golden mean between repression of sexual desires, which is unhealthy, and then you also have indulgence of sexual desires. That's also those are both unhealthy extremes. And when we look at chastity, it's about ordering those sexual desires. So understanding that God planted them in us for a purpose, because he made us for love. But we need to understand in how we use it to not use another person, but to will the good of the other person. and that looks different in all vocations of life. So I really hope that that helped you gain a better idea of what chastity means, especially if you've been on my Instagram. You'll see that I talk about this word a lot in my posts, and I don't always have this much time to go into depth as to what it means, what does it look like. So stay tuned for the other videos coming up soon.